Welcome, everyone, to Teach Me PCB Office Hours. I'm Mark Hughes, the creator of Teach Me PCB and co-facilitator of this year's course, alongside my very, very good friend, Jesse Robinson. We're also joined tonight with Brian Lindhall, and we're expecting a few other people. So if you have a question on how to make a PCB, or you just want to come hang out, come visit us. Instructions for joining the StreamYard are at the bottom of the YouTube description. So with that, welcome, guys. How the heck are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Busy but good, man. Busy but good. But it's always good to spend time with you. So thank you for making the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, how are you, sir?
It's been a long, frustrating day, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us what's going on, buddy? Maybe we can help you.
Spent half the morning or most of the morning resoldering 4 805 resistors. Spent most of the afternoon trying to figure out an SDI problem with my board. To no avail. There hasn't been a resolution yet. So it's been one of those kind of days.
Those kind of days happen, man. Well, what can we do to help you with the soldering problem?
I think it's just a matter of practice and possibly getting a different tip for the pine sol. That the default pointy tip that it comes with, the tip is probably 35, 40 mils wide. And doing an 805 with a 40 mil tip is just almost impossible.
All right.
And I couldn't keep the part straight. I ended up burning out 2 resistors. They don't register as resistors anymore, or they're infinite, I should say.
You probably broke the connection off in one end, would be my guess.
Yeah. A little too much heat. So, all right. And then welcome.
It's just a matter of practice. So,
welcome, Elliot.
Hey. What's new?
Sky's blue.
Yeah.
You've had quite the day too, haven't you?
He's had about a good day as I have, a different front. But yeah,
I had a good day. I learned something new.
That's always good. What did you learn?
Don't use GPIO 15 on Raspberry Pi Pico.
So there was a note in, I want to say that, is it the Adafruit MacroPad or one of their keyboard things where they said, don't use GPIO X because it doesn't work properly. And I don't remember if it was 15 or not, but
it probably was 15. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I just put all my notes together about it. I know how to fix if you're stuck in a situation where you've ruined everything.
I'm using that for an encoder right now, and it has not given me grief yet.
So if you leave it alone during USB device enumeration, you're okay.
So have you looked into the issue beyond what you found to see what it relates to, like on the die level?
Okay, so let me see which link I got open. I just posted this on my blog because I'm that kind of guy. Every 6 months I got to do one.
Yeah.
But I feel like I learned something, and I don't even feel bad about it being an obvious thing that I should have known, so it was good.
I don't know that it was all that obvious, Elliot.
Yeah. So let's see. I got a whole bunch of links I put in here. Here, I'll give you the
EEV blog is talking about it.
There you go. Somewhere at the bottom of that, let's see. So there's a note in one of the, I think it's in the CircuitPython Adafruit project. There's an issue where apparently GPIO 15 wasn't even implemented a year ago, looks like, intentionally. And let's see the data sheet on page 632. I got to start clicking all the links and find what it says. 632. Somewhere in here. Anyways, yeah, it plays some role when it's identifying itself as a USB device. So apparently, if you can use it, but you have to use it after that has happened. And if you have it high at the time you like plug the thing in, or it boots, basically fails to become a USB device, which basically looks like it stops it in its tracks. It doesn't execute your code, nor does it act as a USB device. So you can't replace the code on it. You have no serial port. I'm sure if you plug in those make a Pico probe, maybe you can get in there and fiddle around with it. But it's kind of weird. It works with Arduino framework, so I was able to put some C++ on there and blink an LED. But switching it back to CircuitPython just wouldn't have it. You just have to nuke it. Apparently, that's the deal. But yeah, you kind of lock your keys in your car with it if you do it. But once it happens one time, even if you remove the voltage from that pin and reboot it, it doesn't go away. It stays permanently in that weird, messed up state. So I did that to 4 picos until I figured it out.
Until you nuke it, though, you can recover them.
Nuking it is recovering it. Yeah.
So you fixed all 4 then?
Well, I fixed 2, and I'm confident I can fix the other 2. So.
Okay, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
In a really bad way, but it's interesting.
Well, the hard part about it was not being able to clearly state the problem, so you can't Google it. So you just kind of bumble around until you get enough clues, I guess. But that was the biggest challenge. If I knew how to describe what was wrong, maybe I would have found it much faster.
Well, I'll tell you, the difference between a physicist or an electrical engineer and a maker is in my opinion, is the inability to give up. No, I'm serious. You run into hard problems all the time and you have to stick with them. You can't give up. Eventually you will prevail, or that device is going to end up pinned to your office wall as an example to the others.
I've got a little jar of those devices. These were on their way there. I usually keep them on my desk for a while and think about it before I throw them away.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Make them think about what they've done.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you guys both had some interesting days, and I'm glad you blogged and documented that. That is interesting. Maybe something
I only do that if I get too fired up about if I've sunk too much time into it and I actually got an answer. Then you're obligated.
You kind of, well, hey man, that is wonderful. That is good.
So I think mine are, here, let me leave this sheet. I have them pulled high and I am initializing them as encoder pins. So maybe it does a setup inside of there, but I'm not setting them as digital inputs or anything before that.
Having them initialized as anything, I think, is all you need to do.
Okay. So they must be doing that inside the rotary.io incremental encoder call.
There's got to be a sequence of events, because it clearly starts to execute your code before it becomes a USB disk. Otherwise, making a change in the code would have no effect, right? So there's some, I don't know if it's timing or it's order of operations, where if you leave the pins unconfigured until it tries to become a USB device, then you're in trouble. But if you set them as inputs, I think it handles it and everything's fine. It's weird.
Okay.
Yeah. The interesting thing would be to scope the USB, interrogate the USB at the same time you're powering on that device and looking at those pins and seeing the order of operations. because certainly there's going to be some negotiation back and forth between Windows and the USB device and the USB bus, but that should happen pretty quick, I would think.
Yeah. And they fixed this a while back in CircuitPython after like version 6.2, and we're in like 7 point something. So it's technically resolved, but I found an edge case accidentally.
Cool.
You and me both, buddy. That's the story of my life. That's why I'm Hardway Hughes. It's never the easy way. So, well, very cool. How's so everybody's Brian, are you I thought I saw a working board out of you the other day. Was that a different project?
No, I have my LEDs work, my switches, my switch matrix, my key matrix works. My encoder now works, at least the rotary part works.
Woohoo!
Switch, I didn't do the circuit right to put a switch on an external switch on the boot select, which is what I was trying to do with the push button on the encoder. I know how to do that now, so I've got it changed for V2, but the current board isn't going to handle it. Let's see what else. The display works. What I spent half the afternoon on was this little display I've got. It's a cute little 1.69 inch TFT SPI interface. It has a SD card slot on the back.
Okay.
The display works. The SD card slot tells me no SD card if I try to initialize it. No amount of bit fiddling has made any difference. So I'm going to breadboard it tomorrow and see if there's, if it works on the breadboard, then maybe I've got a wire messed up or a trace messed up. I mean,
there might also be limits to the size of the SD card, the type of the SD card, how it's formatted, etc.
Currently it's a 2 gig SD card, which is a standard non-high capacity. I formatted it with the official SD card organization formatter, and it still doesn't work. And I have tried both Adafruit libraries for doing SD cards, and neither one of them works. So
we've got to get you some test equipment. The other question would be, is it on a separate SPI bus than the display?
No, it is not. There's a separate chip select, but not separate bus. So
but you're getting.
So the SPI bus is working for the display, and therefore, hopefully, for the SD card. But
you don't know if you're getting any data going in or out of the SD card at all.
The SD card, from looking at the code that it's calling it, that it's trying to initialize the SD card and then waiting for it to respond, and it doesn't. So I think the SPI connection's working. There's just something.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is there SPI? Every device has. Do they have addresses? Is that the?
No.
Okay,
no. It's a chip select. It's a chip select pin. You make one high that you're trying to talk to.
Low,
yeah.
Right?
So I went to the Adafruit Discord and asked some of the people there, and they weren't of much. They gave me a bunch of pointers, but nothing that helps. So I don't know, but I know it's not the board. The board, because I've got two of them, and they both do the same thing. So.
So the SD card is like a separate device, and they just happen to be both on the same circuit board.
Yeah.
So do you get two chip select pins on the
yes.
PCB? Okay.
Yes. there's one chip select for the TFT and one chip select for the SD card. And yeah, it was just it's probably going to be something stupid. That's that seems to be the way things have been going. This is the same board that I put on my board backwards. I got the pin numbers, in the reverse order that they should have been. So turning it around, and plugging it in this way instead of this way worked.
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems. I think you're reasoning if the display on the front works. Why wouldn't the SD card on the back work? Because that means you have all the other pins right.
Did you check were your chip selects toggling like you thought they should with the meter?
I was not able to figure out to try that yet.
Because the chip selects are manual, aren't they? Usually the chip selects aren't a part of the SPI setup. You do them yourself.
Yeah. In this case, it happens to be it's GPIO 9, which is the standard SPI 1 chip select. But those don't really matter from what I can tell. If you've got multiple devices, you can use whichever pins you want for the chip select. Mm-hmm. You have to use the RX, TX, and clock in the properly, but the chip select pin doesn't.
The other thing that's gotten me before is the Misomosi, getting those pins defined incorrectly.
Yeah.
Flipping those on accident.
Right. But we know he's got those because the display works.
Yeah. I would meter your chip select and see that it's going low when you think. And like I said, I on all the SPI stuff I've dealt with, I haven't done much with CircuitPython stuff, but like the chip select has always been manually controlled. We're like, chip select low, do your communication. Chip select high, and it's not usually part of the hardware peripheral for some reason. But the fact that they call it out on the Pico, you think it would be, but
you know something else? You might need a pause, a short pause after the chip select low.
I don't do that. You don't do it manually. It's in the library.
So you just specify the pin, and it does its thing.
I just tell it. I just tell it. Create an SD card with this SPI, this chip select.
Okay.
At that point, you're going to have to scope it, or like Jesse said, meter it at the very least to make sure that it's doing something.
You can always try and do it manually too. Sign it in the SD card, call to like a pin you're not using, and then do a manual one where you set it low before you do your SD command and then set it high when you're done. But you might run into issues with that too. I had a part that was using 16 bits, and you had to toggle the chip select in between the first 8 and the second 8, even if you were trying to write like a full 16 bits. So you ended up having to write 2 8s anyway. That was the TDC by Texas Instruments, I believe.
I'm sure it was backwards compatible with something from the 70s.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
The next thing I tried to was I've got an accelerometer breakout attached as well, and which is also SPI on the same bus, and it doesn't work either. So something strange is going on. I just don't know what yet.
Gremlins.
Yes.
I'm trying to think if I had any issues with my SPI stuff on the Pico. I don't think I did. The I2C I had problems because they try and make you do like a trial lock to see if you have control of the I2C, and that just caused it to hang up. It didn't work.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got some questions for you, but I have to speak in generalities because these are ideas at this point. This isn't a plan of action. But I spent today working on my Q1 plan for work, like what I'm going to do the next 3 months. And in that, I came up with some ideas to keep Teach Me PCB rolling. I want to roll some of that past you, and then after that, I'd like to back up to how we should finish off this course, hopefully with some sort of an online party. So Teach Me PCB. It's a lot of work for me to create all the content by myself and run the courses and do all that thing. So I was thinking about bringing in guest instructors. We would let them create courses, hopefully project-based. These are conversations I would have to have with the instructors, and hopefully make the courses shorter. So there's less of a investment and less of a drop-off of people. They would be paid courses. We could give certificates and whatnot, but the basic idea would be students would come in, they'd pay for whichever course they want to sign up for. Most of the money would go to the instructors. I want to find a way to make that as close to 100% as possible. People sign up, they take the course, life's good. Is that enough information without being too overly vague?
I think it's a good concept.
So I still want the free course that we just did to be free. I think we can do that. But I want more content. So do you have any other ways that we could run this thing? I can't conceive of a way I can get quality instructors without paying them. I mean, people like money. I don't blame them. I don't know.
I imagine it should, in theory. So say you did a short course. I have a couple of notes here. Like, say I wanted to learn how to make a flexible PCB, which you already have on your mind, or one that's got an aluminum one. And I want to put some like high power LEDs on there.
Okay.
That doesn't seem like it warrants a 3-month long interaction, but it's something you could build on and do in, 4 weeks and have something to show at the end of it. Like, I don't know what projects would fit with the concepts, like a flashlight, like replace the guts of your old mag light that's in a box with a fancy, round board you made.
I'd do that one. I've got several of them.
I think there's some others. So like we're designing a PCB, but what about going the next step to actually building the files and documentation to order one that gets assembled? Yeah. It seems like once you've done it one time, though, you should be able to recycle a lot of the concepts and maybe change the project every time or something.
I like that, and I like the time frame. I kind of had the same time frame in mind. Part of it is finding instructors that are excited about a particular project, right? Because that's when they're going to teach well. So we need to find something where both the instructor's excited and the student's excited, and then they can take that information out and go on. We've done the hard part in this first course, right? There are other things to know, but I think we've taught most of the basics. Jesse, what do you think?
I think so. I do think, bouncing off of Elliot's stuff too, like definitely at the end, I think people could use a little more on the assembly and manufacturing side. So I think that could be expanded upon and could be a course, but I don't know if that's a valid course more than just, a presentation or something. I'm not sure in terms of content. I feel like if you're going to be doing paid content, it's hard to compete with like Hackaday and all these places that are doing free kind of good things, especially like when people pay for something, they're going to want to expect something. And I don't know if we can give like a certificate that counts. It's not a continuing education credit. We're not accredited. So I guess it depends on the type of people you bring in. Like, if you bring in like a Rick Hartley or something, that's going to draw draw people, but yeah, I don't know. I think you got to bring in some all-stars.
I had 2 conversations today. You would certainly recognize one of the names.
The other
But
thing
we've
I
got
just
Go
sorry.
ahead, Elliot.
I'm an interrupter. That's just how I
No.
do it. So if you have the concept of like a class in design philosophy, like what we've done here is kind of like start to finish. We start out maybe not knowing anything about soldering or surface mount boards or PCBs, and we need to end up 3 months later with like bringing all of those together successfully, which is kind of tricky. I wonder if you could have those broken up slightly more, but have like the output of one be the input to another one. Not necessarily require every person to have done every course, but say so our group, I mean, between 5 people could come up with a single design that you could then feed forward into like a soldering course where everybody gets that design, gets that board and then builds it up. And that the course is just getting this board, building it up. And that could be the output of a course on design. And then maybe getting one manufactured is the output from after it's been through there. I also think coding is a part that kind of bleeds into this, obviously, where maybe there can be, a board that's been designed and manufactured is the thing you get at the beginning of the code and work on a microcontroller course. So they're all kind of interrelated, but you have sort of like out of each class, you pick the best design or a single design, or you make one specifically to be suited for the next concept or one of the other concepts. So they're all kind of standardized.
I like it. I like the project-based learning very much. We would have to give some thought to what that looks like, and we would have to get we have to get? Well, we get Yuri to teach coding. My God, that man's a machine. I'm impressed every time I see what he's doing. He you know why we didn't hear from him last month?
Because he was reverse engineering the ESP32?
No, he did that too. Because he was learning how to design ASICs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he did 3 of them.
That's as a
naturally.
I think a topic that I currently would find interesting, and I know it's probably something that he's learned other places, but testing and troubleshooting. A short course on logic analysis. Here's the fundamentals of what buttons you push to make things make sense when you're looking at signals. That would be a very helpful thing to somebody who's never used any. Well, I've used an oscilloscope, but it's been a long time, and I didn't use it for anything like this. The only tool currently in my repertoire is a meter. You could do some with a meter, but
you just hit the auto set button.
No, Jesse, no.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do a paid course, that might be practical to get everybody one of those $8 knockoff logic analyzers and some open source software, and send them a board with some faults in it. We can make those. We're really good at it.
Yeah, right. No problem there.
In that.
So those are all good ideas. Okay, so we've got logic analysis, we've got programming, we've got one of the people I talked to today is an expert at high-speed design, absolute top notch. That would be valuable, I think, as a paid course. I was also kicking around the idea of taking everything a bit further than online and perhaps having one of these people do in-person courses.
Now, that's always good. I think everything has to be balanced against the level of engagement, or like how many people you can engage. I know I asked a long time ago, but we're probably gonna get 20 or 30 boards to show for everybody that's in the class. Do you
I'm
think?
I'm thinking about 20. A lot of the holidays really seem to have, for a lot of people, that's a lot of family time. It's not free time.
Mhm.
So a lot of the people that I
Garage time.
know are going to finish, I think they're going to finish a little later than sooner.
Yeah,
Like our
so
friend Don. I imagine Andrew's done, but we haven't seen him because he's probably doing family stuff.
yep. So
Henry, a
I
lot
what
of our.
I'm
Go ahead.
what I was gonna get at is maybe breaking these into slightly smaller chunks would make it easier to get people to the finish line of each one. Like, for example, schematic capture. We could have all started at the beginning of this course with a schematic that was done and went straight to the board, perhaps.
We can do that next time. We couldn't do
Right.
this time because I didn't have enough prep time.
Right. Yeah, that's sure thing. But you
We
know what
could
I'm
do
saying.
that, but we could totally do that in the future if that's something where people don't want to spend time doing the schematic capture themselves. We could just jump into board layout.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is if it was a shorter, like a slightly smaller commitment, where it would be easier for people to stick with it and get to the end.
Lower barrier of entry. So we would.
Like he was saying, break it. If we could break things up a little bit. If you've done the schematic capture unit, you want to bring your own that's close to what we're working on, that's fine. Otherwise, here's an existing one that you could start with
in your software, ready to go. Yeah.
So that's kind of what we tried to do with the checkpoints, but you're recommending a much more organized approach that I like.
A little more structured of a checkpoint, because honestly, it's hard. It's easy to ignore sometimes. We're somewhere in the sea of things, and people are still posting in the welcome forum, but it's 9 weeks later. It doesn't quite feel like we're all moving along at the similar pace. I know it's at your own pace, but if it were shorter chunks, we'd be less far apart.
I know what you're saying.
I would say in terms of giving people design or letting them bring their own design, I would say probably, at least my feeling from seeing people talk about it, I would say most of the designs are their own design that's spun off the original. I think most people don't have the exact same one. Even though we had that checkpoint available, like, here, use this whole schematic. I don't think many people have the exact same design. They added on their own peripherals and stuff.
Did anyone pick it up and start from there, or did we lose everybody who hadn't made a design by that checkpoint?
I don't know if anyone picked up from there.
So, yeah.
Look to see if they have what values and stuff they have on the resistors to see if they took my keycan design.
Yeah, and I don't like the idea of like taking away people's creativity, but possibly controlling the variables a little tighter, where there is really only one design unless you're ready with one, and there's one set of components unless you're, to make it easier to manage, easier to not fall behind. It's kind of boring to have everybody do the exact same circuit, but also if you end up troubleshooting code with people, you can be reasonably confident that what works on your desk works on their desk.
Mm-hmm.
This is true, but will people buck too much? I got a lot of people. I mean, everybody I talked out of it, but I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, I want to do this instead. I don't need a macro pad.
Mm-hmm.
I need this." And I'm like, listen, I don't need a macro pad either.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make a sexy product for people to be on board with it, but it's kind of like a gingerbread house decorating contest. Like, if everybody decorates the same house, they all come out pretty much samey, but it's also easy because you just make 5,000 of the same thing. So somewhere in the middle.
No, I like that. One schematic. Take take variant A that we have now, replace that 595, probably with the 2811. Here's your schematic.
Yeah, and even having the code and a board. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say, is having at the beginning, which I know you don't have it yet, but having the design that's finalized and proven available at the beginning, because I don't think we're concerned about people cheating. If they want to just copy, paste, and have it manufactured, fine, right?
Who cares, right?
But
That's on them.
the same thing I've been saying about the IPC contest is like having a shiny example of what we need at the end might make people feel confident about getting there, or tell them, hey, I'm not ready for this. But being able to show that at the start would certainly help, because I know I wasn't certain on like what we're going to be doing, but I just signed up anyways because it seemed cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some of the kinds of things that I've been going through with mine, the last couple of days when I thought I've got things running, like the rotary encoder issues. Once I got it going, I got the components replaced, but what it took to get it working was taking the capacitors out, because Adafruit doesn't. The Circuit Python libraries don't need the hardware debouncing, from what I can tell.
Did you use our encoders, or did you bring your own?
I have the equivalent non-LED. I have the PEC 12, not the PEL 12.
Is it a true quadrature encoder?
It's the same thing where you if you turn it halfway between the taunts, it shows the values. You click it and all the data goes away again. So it's giving you the positive edge, but it doesn't give you the true quad.
So yeah, so we designed a debounce circuit for a true quadrature encoder. It's not that the software doesn't like the capacitors. It's a different electrical configuration inside that encoder that doesn't like the capacitors.
Yeah, I think because the pulse edges are so thin that the slew rate really kills it when you have that high pull-up value.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I have caps and resistors on mine, and well, I guess I have the full quadrature too, but they're a less value. I guess I could put in the 47K and see what it looks like.
If I hadn't assembled mine the way I did, I would swap it out. I actually didn't put the caps or the pull-up resistors on mine based on my previous experience, realizing I didn't need it. I was just being lazy, but we can confirm like what is.
But I'm saying, regardless of that, having the proven board, having something that you've designed, assembled, coded, and it all works together would be a big positive.
I agree.
For a starting point.
I agree.
I'm not trying to bring up the problems I had. It's just given those kinds of issues, if you had a proven thing, if I had started with a proven thing, we said, this is how you do it. Make sure your parts work this way. This is the code that'll work. I think we're probably, as some of us are more prone to continuing past the frustration than others.
Yes.
We may be very well losing more people when they get their boards trying to assemble them, and all of a sudden things don't, they get assembled and it doesn't work. They're just going to put it in the box and move on. They're not going to come and ask questions. They're not going to, try and figure it out.
I hope that's not the case.
But that's how people.
Yeah, some people are. But I hope that the people that have made it this far are going to finish up. I mean, I was running DFMs as late as the 29th. My license might be up. I don't know. I'll have to look.
Yeah, we're going to get that automatically for the next one anyways, because now we have a few examples. We'll have many examples. But that would certainly be helpful, I think. It's like that's your checkpoint you can use at any point for anybody in the class who doesn't feel up to the task of a schematic, but they're ready to do board layout. Or it's like, you know what? You sent me a parts kit, but my board sucks. Let me get one of the standard ones
Yeah,
and I'll build it so I get the experience.
that's a great idea, Elliot. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have certainly given me a lot to think about. Next up, how are we going to show these things off? How are we going to make a splash? Let people know what you did.
I'm going to mail it to you and then you'll figure it out.
I already did that for Mark. I gave him one of my boards and said, "Here, if you want to take fancy pictures."
Yeah, I've got it. It's great. I love it. So Adafruit has a show and tell on Wednesdays. If anybody's so inclined to show up, they use StreamYard just like us. You go to their Discord and they post a link to the StreamYard, and then if you're one of the 10 people, they pull you in. Okay. Try not to all show so much excitement at once. You're going to blow out the speakers.
You lost me at the 10 people because I'm like, we should just get everyone in that has one in the class in there, but there's probably more than 10 people that are going to have boards that are talking.
Do they shuffle people through though?
They do shuffle people through, but there's only 30 minutes, and sometimes 10 or 15 minutes of that'll be taken up by I can't think of a word. Frequent flyers, people that come all the time, and they're showing off stuff.
We could ruin a whole week of their show by just its nonstop macro keypads.
I don't think it would be beneficial. Maybe we did like 2 a week or something. Just go and show off and talk up the course. And then the other thing, so let's say you've never heard of Teach Me PCB before. And you're like, I don't want to give these guys these money. I don't know anything about them. Is the instructor any good? These are all questions people had before they signed up for the course. How can we convince them that this is not a waste of their time, that we're trying to do something good here?
I think showing off what you made is the best way to do that. Take it to Reddit. Yeah, take it wherever.
Especially people that haven't done anything before. Like, hey, I had no experience, and this is what I made. Because that's going to be the biggest testimonial. Like, I mean, you're going to get a couple people that are like midway experience that are going to take it, but I think you get your biggest influx. There's more people that don't don't have any experience with this, and there is people that have some experience. So showing them, I came in with nothing, and now I have this, is going to be, I think, the biggest showcase.
And we certainly have some rock stars. I mean, Jesse was our rock star last time through. Now we've got the people on screen. We've got Andrew, Goof's board. Who is Goof in real life? I hate names. I don't know how they translate to people.
We've got Don. I can't remember who Don translates to.
Don is by my bed.
Okay.
But who's Goof?
I don't remember seeing Goof's real name, and I haven't been on enough streams. Has Goof ever been on?
I don't know who Goof is.
He said he was heading back to Costa Rica, right? We met him back in.
No, this is Paul Daly.
Okay, dang it.
No, Paul is the other Paul that works at a place that I know.
They both have orangish avatars. That's my problem.
Yeah. No, this is Paul Daly. So he soldered his, but he's traveling. I don't know. We're going to see him for a week or two.
That's right.
We haven't seen Tony Booth in a little while. He's probably waiting just because of shipping to New Zealand. But these are all people who I would absolutely love to get, if you're comfortable, video testimonials from. A couple 60 seconds, 2 minutes, telling about your experience in the board or in the course and what you liked. I could probably get that edited down to something.
Oh, I need to write a bio and send a headshot to Patrick for the IPC contest. So when I win that by accident, I'll tell him where I learned to do a PCB.
You know something? I was even talking about you winning that contest with a buddy of mine today. I'm just so impressed, Elliot. Talk about, zero to hero, man.
Failing forwards.
Not that you were ever a zero, but I mean that you made it to the IPC finals. Having, 3 months ago, you'd never designed a board, and here you are.
I hope that doesn't embarrass them. I'm a little worried. Like they're like, it's the best of the best. And it's just a guy who signed up for a thing on the internet.
What are you talking about, man?
It's industry standards organization. Like they should be. Shouldn't there be a bunch of wizards and?
Yes, and they think
Wizards
you're
come
one.
from all
So
kinds of places.
Like they let me
Well,
in.
you got to also think of it that a lot of people that have been in the industry for a long time probably have their own rules and probably kind of fly by those. And so, coming in as a new guy, you're going to follow the strict rules that they give you, and that's why you're doing so well. I don't think it means I don't think it means the contest is not difficult. I think you're a real good rule follower, and that's why you're doing so well.
Yeah, I just kind of feel bad if they didn't get the engagement from the people they were hoping for. I'm guessing I'm not their target demographic because I'm not in the industry. Certainly interested, but
I will say I was in I'm in the industry, and we use IPC guidelines for our manufacturing and assembly. We didn't own the IPC design guide. So we were just left to our own to do whatever we want because we didn't have a design, the actual design rules of what you should do. We only had the manufacturing rules, and I bet a lot of people are probably in that same boat.
And the other thing too to remember, Elliot, is not everybody had the time to rip up and relay out their board 4 or 5 times. How many hours did you spend on that?
Too many.
It
was good though.
I would be pressed to find enough time to lay it out once. Jesse, I imagine you're in the same boat, let alone rip it up and lay it out 5 times. So your hard work is what got you there.
Yeah. The board is actually the fun part. That's what I was excited for. I didn't realize how much of the documentation was part of the contest until like the last week. I was like, oh, dang it. Kind of phoned it in on that part.
See, and that's the other thing too. I mean, who's got time for that?
I do.
I know, right? But you spent the time. You put in the work. You spent the time. You did a good job, man. I'm proud of you.
It's going to be a really great resume item.
Yeah, and that's got nothing to do with the course. That's got to do with you doing hard work.
That's going to be fun. I'll definitely put on my resume. I'll get a bunch of weird things that don't go together. Like what?
So, but yeah, okay. But yeah, I would love.
I'll advertise it there for you.
I would love testimonials that I can put on the Teach Me PCB website to let people know we're trying to do right by you. We're going to make mistakes, but we're trying not to waste your time. And at the same time, and I know Jesse, you're real busy right now. I would love to do this again in, maybe in March with the people on screen, certainly, as perhaps some co-facilitators. I certainly think y'all have something to offer. Jesse, if time permits, I would love to think about you teaching a course.
Yeah, if I can find something I feel like I have enough knowledge in.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's not just knowledge, it's also the project. Right?
If you shrink the scope a little bit too, it makes that a lot more practical.
Right.
Say that again?
If you shrink the scope, if it's not from front to back, and if it's just start with this, get to go from A to B or B to C, that can be more manageable.
Let's go with something a little smaller. Like you're making your badges right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what you call them.
Oh, the pennies.
Yeah. I mean, that is a project that might interest some people. It doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be a 6-month course. It could be a 6-day course, right? So change your
explaining like Charlie plexing and how you would code for that, and
yeah. It could be. I mean, and we would figure out the contract for pricing and whatnot. But I really do want as much money as possible. Up to 100% of the student funds going to the instructor. So, let's say you set the barrier to entry at $5. I don't know. I'm making numbers up right now, so none of this is contractual. But let's say you set it at $5. You spend a month. You wouldn't spend a month making it. You spend 2 weeks making the course. I could help you with graphics and whatnot. And, go over to Udemy and look at how much people are dumping into those courses right now. It's a lot of cash for some of these, for the top paying courses. So let's say you get, over the course of 2 years, maybe you get 2,000 people. And we'd help market through Royal. We'd help market that stuff. But I like to think if we can get this going, that it might put a little money in your pocket for your hard work and your expertise.
I was excited today because I logged into my account where I ordered the penny boards, and I had a credit there because someone bought my LED breakout boards I designed 2 years ago for the dot star LEDs, and I had them as a shared project, so I get commission from that. It's cool. I don't know. I think it's fun when people use things that you've done.
That is cool,
Yeah.
man.
I think you
appreciate it.
You could facilitate something like that. Like if you just wanted to do a course on Charlie plexing alone, you could do it. And if you don't provide the hardware, on the spot, you could make it available like that, like a kit cart, whatever they call it, from DigiKey and the board from Oshpark, but find a way to make it very easily available. So it's like, yeah, pay $8, join this course, learn to code, and pay an extra, you go here on your own and spend 30 more, and you can have the item that we're working with in the course.
So something to think about. There's certainly no need to agree to anything now. And since this is a new idea, everything's negotiable. We'd figure it out. But I don't know, something to think about. I think you've got a lot to offer this world, Jesse Robinson, and I would love to take advantage of that for my benefit. But I'm not kidding. The more about the co-facilitation thing for the free course, I can't really do anything but try to work some magic here and there. I can't get you money for a free course, but you would be helping a lot of people. You would be building your skill sets, and the same offer would go if we could come up with a project that makes sense, a course that makes sense. We could bring you into the fold there as facilitators too, after we did a co-facilitator round together. I'd love to get Andrew Ferguson too, if you're listening, Andrew. So Paul Daly, if you're just sitting around in Costa Rica, not doing nothing. So anyways, just food for thought, guys, food for thought. How should we wrap up this course? When should we wrap up this course? When should we stop doing office hours and turn off the lights?
Ooh. I don't know. I think we need to somehow assess where people are at. How many people are still invested and have to work on their boards, and how many people are just not there anymore. And I don't know how we do that. I don't know if you put out a blast like, hey, who's still finishing up, or if nobody is, then let's set a date for everyone to have something working for our show and tell.
I'd like to stick around and help people actually get, their boards up and running, because getting them delivered in the mail it's something to show, but we could at least stick around on Discord for a while if there really is anybody who wants a help.
Mhm.
Brian, how are you feeling?
Yeah,
You've been
about
very
the same.
quiet.
I'm kind of in it for the long haul. I'm enjoying what we're doing. But as far as, like Elliot said, I'm happy to stay around on Discord and, help people, help people get finished who haven't quite made the end of the course deadline. As far as the deadline goes, I wouldn't mind seeing it being at least 2 or 3 weeks out, because I'm ordering a V2 board probably in a week, maybe.
This is a
After
V2 board too.
I've got to get everything else tested first, and at least diagnosed. What are do all my other things work, so that I know if I do a V2 that they will still work. So I think I'd like to have something to show for all of it, but it's going to take me another. If I order in a week, I'll have boards in 2 weeks or a little more.
All right.
But I think to solicit those who have finished or are close to finishing, have them record something, or get them on, or get them on a private StreamYard and record it that way if they want a guided thing, and then
Maybe
edit some stuff
I
together.
love that. Maybe we do a one-on-one interview with each person that finished.
Yeah, or I know I could probably figure out how to get it recorded with my webcam. I don't have a recording setup. I don't have any other cameras that I can use to just do a more YouTube-ish documentary about my project. But I'm more than happy to talk about it and show it off on screen and take pictures of it. So I think there's probably a lot of people in that category. If they, my laptop has a camera on it. That's how I'm here.
So what about, are you familiar with Zoom? Got a Zoom account.
I've been using Zoom for a long time. I was even using Zoom before COVID. So yeah.
Okay, so I could conceivably, put a call out and say, whoever's finished their board, meet me on Zoom for, I'd probably do 30-minute blocks. We'd use 15 minutes of it, and do a little show and tell and a quick interview. I can record audio, video there, splice it together on, or send it off to a video editor to splice together. I like that, Brian. What do you think, Elliot and Jess?
Yeah,
I hate showing my face on the internet, but I'll do it.
Thank you. Thank you,
for Mark.
Just for me. All right, guys. Anything else for the good of the cause?
I guess in terms of figuring out when we finish, like we had said before, assess where people are at, and maybe give enough time if you want to get results for people's V2 boards to come out. I rarely have had circuit boards come out right on the first go, so it's not surprising that we're going to see V2s.
Yeah, if you want something to show for people, I think the boards with no components on them would be good, because that's easy, and even if they don't work, it doesn't matter. And then second would be if you can get them to the point where they can light up the LEDs but do nothing else. That would also be good to show, because we're not going to show them click a button and then a letter popping out in Notepad, right? So if you can get whoever's got one to that point, it'll be probably the best.
Yeah.
All right, guys. As always, I value your time and opinions and thoughts. They're great. Hopefully going to make, when we do this course again, it's going to make it even better for the next round of people that come through. And I would really appreciate your continued involvement in that. To that end, Brian, are you familiar with the Analog Discovery 2 USB oscilloscope?
Not particularly that thing. I know of several several USB devices. like that. There's
It's aimed at like colleges and stuff, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure. So I don't want to promise you this. I think I have one from my All About Circuit days. I think I got one as an eval. I haven't seen it in a year or two, but I'm going to look for that for you.
Okay. I'm on the verge of ordering a.
Oh, okay.
There's I've linked to it a couple times in Discord. The Espotec Labrador. It's a 2-channel oscilloscope, 2-channel logic analyzer, signal generator, all kinds of other stuff in a $30 board.
Oh, that would be much better.
And it takes having it doesn't have probes with it, so you have to get a couple BNC jacks and a set of probes. But other than that, that's the direction I'm going to go. I haven't seen the software running yet, but this guy's doing it all. It's all open source. So heck, I'll write my own software if I have to. But yeah, that's the route I'm going. I got to make sure the budget's there, but that's what I'm planning on.
Okay, well, if that changes,
I think if Elliot mentioned this earlier, that there's a couple really cheap ones.
I'll give you my
single channel, but I'm saying for a class thing,
oh yeah,
that could make it onto our recommended tools list. A single channel USB oscilloscope would be a beautiful thing for people who don't have a clue like me. Last time I touched the scope myself, my dad built a Heathkit oscilloscope back in the, I want to say probably mid 60s or early 70s, and used it for one thing. My dad was a church organist. He had an electronic organ. He used it to tune the organ. He'd hook it up, and he'd hook up to 2 different signals, and he knew it was in tune when the little circle was staying still in the middle of the screen. That's all I remember as a kid watching him do this. I wish I still had that thing. Even if it didn't work, I would fix it. But that's how long it's been since I've even touched those kind of things. So that kind of thing is probably really useful if you can't afford a $600 or $700 analyzer. Having something to at least see what's going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll give you my tech scope, but you'd have to come get it. It's cheaper to buy one on local Craigslist than drive for
the big ones.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I've got a little electronics store down the road a piece that they have lots of junk. They have lots of secondhand cable. They have they've still got a tube tester. Let's put it that way. That they've got a couple scopes sitting on the rack in the back of the room. I almost think of, I should buy one of those, but no. I want something that could do the logic analysis. That's much easier to diagnose some of this stuff.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to our sponsors. Royal Circuit Solutions is the big one. Advanced Assembly, DigiKey, Walkwe. We've got theanalog.io, the best newsletter you're not reading, and maybe one or two more. It's Osh Park. There we go. But I thank everybody for their time. It's always great chatting with you and spending time with you. We'll be back here next Monday and the Monday after that, then at 6 p.m. Pacific. If you have questions, if there's anything we can help you with, office hours, we tend to chat, but that's just because nobody really comes to us with questions. So join us. We'll see if we can help you out. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.